Hugh Freeze credited two things at the start of his press conference on Monday, and all Auburn fans should love it.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a quick reaction episode to Hugh Freeze's press conference as he recaps the win over ULM and, of course, previews the final home game of the season as the Texas A&M Aggies come to Jordan-Hare Stadium. He talked up Texas A&M specifically on defense, and we'll jump into that in a little bit. But I want to start things off with what Hugh Freeze started things off with. And that was, okay, he's praising the offense, and he said the two things that stood out to him, and it should be the two things that Auburn fans noticed, or at least, subconsciously noticed. And one was winning third down, obviously, but you're able to do that because of winning on first down. Auburn consistently won on first down against ULM, which eliminates the need to constantly be in third and long situations. That allows you to win on third down. But he credited winning on first down, which is crucial. And the other was getting the ball in the playmakers' hands. And that's what we've talked about in the several shows that we've put up since the ULM game. Was Coleman was thrown to 8 times. KLS was targeted a bunch. Malcolm Simmons went for 6 targets, 6 catches. All of these guys are being thrown and given the football, which seems like a no-brainer, right? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. Oh, you've got all of these guys that we all think are super, super talented, and this coaching staff believes in. And when they get the ball, it seems like good things happen. And, of course, he was asked about that. He was asked about that specifically, as he should have been. And he said, I'd love to say we're throwing it to him 8 times, talking about Cam Coleman, but I don't dictate the coverages. And then he went on to explain what exactly the RPO system is and the whole argument for it. And it makes sense. The whole argument for it is you don't know exactly where it's going to go. It's all based off of what the defense gives you, whether you're handing it off or which read you're going to. And I agree with that in theory. But at times throughout the rough stretch of the season where the Auburn offense had a hard time getting going, I think you need a few plays where you just draw up and you're going to give it to Malcolm Simmons behind the line of scrimmage, or you're going to kind of figure out a way to get the ball in the hands of Cam Coleman. I mean, you see other places do that. And I know that doesn't go with what the core scheme is, but the core scheme has fallen apart at key moments and in key games so far this season. So I will push back on that a little bit. It's great that you got the scheme and the look that you wanted from ULM, but we've got to figure out a way to get Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons, KLS, heck, Perry Thompson, these types of players involved in the games that matter. And so obviously they're working on that this week, but I thought that was an interesting thing, especially for him to lead off with. And, he also talked up his defense and how impressive they were. But my favorite quote from Hugh Freeze today was he was asked about DeMarcus Riddick. And he was asked about DeMarcus Riddick after he was asked about playing a mobile quarterback, a dynamic quarterback, which they are playing, and Marcel Reed, who's coming to Jordan-Hare Stadium, the A&M quarterback. And he kind of said what we said on this morning's edition of Locked On Auburn. Like, yeah, Auburn wasn't good against mobile quarterbacks at the start of the year. And Hugh Freeze says, yeah, we were terrible at that earlier in the season. And over the course of the season, they've gotten better at containment and dealing with mobile quarterbacks. And it's hard. It's hard to contain good mobile quarterbacks. But he was asked about DeMarcus Riddick. And the quote that he said with DeMarcus Riddick was, we changed when we started playing him. Ain't that the truth? And it lines up with, seeing more Caleb Harris and Jay Crawford coming into his own. Like, all of these young guys really starting to get more comfortable around the same time. But, man, with DeMarcus Riddick on the field, you're just able to do things a little bit different because he's so dynamic, can cover so much ground, moves left to right so well. The play recognition's elite. Doesn't look like a freshman. Number 16 does not look like a freshman in any way, shape, or form. which is exciting. But and he said we changed when we started playing him. Talking about Riddick, I thought that was a super super cool note on that. And outside of that, the rest of it I think was kind of him talking about either recruiting his own roster or giving Texas A&M a lot of respect on the defensive side of the football. He did credit Peyton Thorne. Peyton was named, like the Davey O'Brien had the watch list of 8 quarterbacks for it to be their like player of the week or whatever. And Peyton Thorne was on that, as he should be. 5 touchdowns, no turnovers. Like Peyton looked good. Peyton looked good on Saturday. And so we'll see if he gets that award or not. But thought that was good that he credited Peyton. Didn't get any questions really about the quarterback situation. I mean, I don't know what else he could say that he didn't say after Saturday. I guess you could have asked about Walker specifically to get more info on his assessment of Walker, but I can't imagine it would have been anything groundbreaking. Probably would have been, he was nervous, he was juiced. Like, let's see if he can take a step forward next time he gets an opportunity. Freeze was asked about the defense and how to prepare for Texas A&M. And I think some of the answers are a little concerning. Not what Freeze said, but just the matchup itself for Auburn. Let's jump into that briefly in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. Alumni Hall is the best place to buy all of your Auburn swag. It doesn't matter if you want like the Auburn polos or a specific Auburn sport type shirt, or if you want hats. I got this hat at Alumni Hall. Doesn't matter what it is. Alumni Hall has you covered. And look, Christmas is so close. It's going to be here before you know it. Don't let it sneak up on you. Just head over to Alumni Hall. They got 3 physical locations in Auburn, Opelika, and Huntsville. You can just check all those things off of your list for all of the loved ones that you're buying stuff for this Christmas season. Or you can order it all online at alumnihall.com. They will certainly take care of you. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy, they know that being a passionate football fan is not just a hobby, it's a way of life. And look, you may need some 5 Hour Energy staying up to watch this 8 o'clock tip for Auburn basketball this evening. And 5 Hour Energy helps you power through. They've got a new Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy shot. The special flavor is called Fan Fuel. The energy shot made just for super fans like us. So head over to 5hourenergy.com. It all ships nationwide, and check out their incredible new flavor, Fan Fuel. You'll absolutely love it. 5hourenergy.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day, or your second listen. This is our second show of the day. We're doing a third show today, so be sure to come back later today. We'll go live after Auburn basketball takes on UNA, North Alabama, 8 o'clock tip. We'll probably go live around 10:15 as soon as the game's over. They've been about 2 hours, 5 minutes or so. So we'll see how long that is. So Hugh Freeze talked about A&M. He said A&M is loaded with NFL talent on defense. They're really, really a problem for you. They're constantly putting you under pressure. It's an issue for us. And to me, like, this is not a good matchup for Auburn. And I know there's a lot of hope, and I'm starting to talk myself into picking Auburn. The line is super encouraging, 2.5 points. Like, I get the argument for Auburn, but when you look at the X's and O's of it, I think points are going to be tough to come by. I think this is going to be a battle, and Auburn's going to want it to be sloppy and ugly on both sides of the football to pull off this upset on Saturday. The Texas A&M front seven versus Auburn's offensive line in passing situations, I think, presents an issue. And Hugh Freeze was hinting at that. He wasn't even hinting at it. I think he was flat out saying it essentially at his press conference on Monday. And I think his assessment is right. Like, I think that is a mismatch in favor of Texas A&M. I do think Auburn can run the ball on Texas A&M, just because other teams have been able to do it when Texas A&M has gone on the road, specifically South Carolina. And South Carolina is a better team than we realized when they played Texas A&M. But I do believe the situations are similar. And I think with what South Carolina is doing, a lot of their success is coming from what South Carolina's been able to do up front defensively. I don't think there's a crazy difference in either of these teams' ability to run the football when you look at Auburn and South Carolina. Now, I get on to folks all the time about the transitive property in college football. Every week to week is so different. And so it's not a good argument. I understand it. But I do think Auburn is going to be able to run the football if they choose to do so. But it goes back to what Hugh Freeze said about his offense, about the RPO, is they're going to take what the defense gives you. And if you're Texas A&M, how are you not putting an extra guy in the box and saying, hey, Peyton Thorne, we are daring you to beat us with your arm. And oh, yeah, your offensive line, we're coming after them. You know that's going to be the game plan. You know that. It has to be. If you're Mike Elko and Texas A&M, that's got to be how you attack this Auburn offense. So we'll see. We'll see how they respond to that. But I think Hugh Freeze didn't really pull a whole lot of punches when discussing Texas A&M. Last thing that he's talked about that was interesting, Mike G of the War Report asked him, hey, coach, you talked about, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, the emphasis of recruiting his own roster. And Hugh Freeze kind of deflected that question to be more on to victory at this point. And he credited Jason Campbell, the former Auburn quarterback, who is obviously leading the charge over there as far as being the liaison between on to victory and the players. And it sounds like, Hugh Freeze is saying, hey, that's their gig. I'm just kind of focusing on building relationships and coaching these guys. Okay, yeah, that checks out. That makes sense. There's just been all this talk about recruiting his own roster, and I'm sure that's a factor in this. I just don't think at this point there's a whole lot Hugh Freeze can do about it other than just making sure guys feel valued and that they're going to be a part of the future of the program, a relevant part of the roster for the future of the program. And I think you can do that by coaching. I think a lot of these players that have been good for a long time and they want to get better, they want to be coached. And I think they want to get coached hard. And to me, like, I think that's his way of saying, like, I am working on this. Like, I can't talk about money or anything like that with the players, but I can make sure that they feel loved. And their future plan here is, let's make sure it's all aligned. I don't think that's a crazy thing to assume or say. And I think he kind of hinted at that in that answer. My overall takeaway from the presser today is the presser today and the presser after Vanderbilt, it's totally different. I mean, I think Daryl hopped on with me after the Vanderbilt presser, and it was just, he felt defeated. It felt down. It didn't feel like he wanted to be there. He had a lot more energy today. It seemed like, he moved it back a few hours. He said he had some stuff to take care of this morning. So, maybe, a win does a lot. Winning fixes a lot of things. And so maybe the win over ULM kind of sparked some energy from Coach Freeze. I don't know. I don't blame him if that's the case. I don't blame him at all if that's the case. What was your overall reaction to what Hugh Freeze said on Monday? I thought it was pretty tame. I do think I like the honesty as far as him talking up Texas A&M, because I don't think he's just blowing smoke. Their direction. I think that this is a legitimate concern. I mean, he said that he hasn't even looked at their offense yet. He's just been so focused on watching their defense, and I think that makes sense. I think it's going to be a big mismatch that they're going to have to scheme out of. And I'm not saying they can't do it. I just think that it's going to take a really solid game plan. And it seems like their head's in the right spot with all of that. Once again, we'll go live after Auburn basketball tonight. Daryl Dapprich will join me, so be sure to that you're subscribed, turn the notification bells on, and all that stuff. If you make sure you don't want to miss any of that, please like the video, please subscribe, and go hop over at thebarnauburn.com. Subscribe over there. We would love to have you hang out and be part of that awesome growing community. Until next time, this has been Locked On Auburn.